Yeah.
shooting the shit
Right.
about sports. That was really cool last time.
I'm watching a game on my Atari computer from 1984, Micro League Baseball. It's on, like next to me here, and let's see who's pitching. I don't know. I think it's like Dave Stieb versus Dwight Gooden or something.
Wow, that's a good pitching matchup for back in the day.
George Brett is up right now, and
what do you got, the All-Star game?
Yeah, the AL
okay.
versus NL All-Stars.
Okay.
It's really bad.
Well, when I got the text saying that you want to talk about steroids and cheating in baseball, like I said, the first thing that comes to my mind is the bullshit situation. And I don't know how you guys even feel about it, but it seems like it always boils down to the money. If it benefits the people that are making the money, then cheating's fine, because the steroid thing blew up in baseball with Sosa and McGuire. You know what I mean? Like, there was no one that wasn't in their right mind that didn't know those two people were like taking more steroids than a Clydesdale.
Right. Well, I mean, that was after the strike, and they needed to do something to get people interested in the game, because it was after that strike, like people didn't want to go and pay, and they were mad at everybody, the owners, the players, everybody, and so that the whole steroid thing, it more home runs bring in people. I'm sorry, like no one wants to watch, like we talked about before. I mean, maybe some people, like a 1-0 baseball game is boring.
I would like to hear.
I don't care about it. I think if you're a professional athlete, and I guess I get into the mind of a professional athlete that could extend his career by 3 more years if he took that stuff, and I don't know why that they don't. I think it should just be regulated in a way. It helps you repair. So if you don't abuse it, it's probably an attribute to an athlete to get out of there without being permanently damaged.
See,
if everyone's doing it, then
I'm of the mindset that, like, it's to every kid that's ever picked up a baseball glove, it sends an incredibly horrible message that you have to cheat, because it is cheating.
It is cheating.
It is cheating.
Right.
You have to cheat in order to make it to the majors.
Okay, so I have it like this. In one hand, am I watching sports to see who the genetic freak is, or am I watching sports to see who worked the hardest? Because if you regulated it, but if you regulated it where everybody's T level was the same, then it would just come down to who works harder.
Well, I got a way to regulate everybody's T level is your natural T level. Yeah, your natural T level.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm kind of beyond the whole look to sports for your role model thing too, kind of. Like, I understand, but that's natural for kids to look up to them.
So if you're 9 years old and you say, I want to be a pro baseball player, and you're a parent, and you got to sit down and go, well, listen, kid, there's going to be come a time
you're going to have to
stick this needle in your ass. Yeah. I mean, that would be horrible. That would be horrible for sports in general.
Right. As a kid, you're almost promoted to look at those people as role models. They're almost put in front of you. Some of the parents that drive me the most nutty are the ones that, I always get grief for shit I say, but the ones that, like, when the Seahawks are good, their kids are all in Seahawks stuff. Like, wait a minute. Like, I looked at the one family, I'm like, you guys live in Seattle at any time? And they're like, no, we're from here. And I'm like, then why does he have Seahawks stuff on?
Yeah.
Well, they're good right now. Why don't? That's not a thing. But you can't.
Right.
You should, like, geographically, that's where you're supposed to be. I mean, I get it if you're like somebody who grew up when we grew up and you became a Steelers fan, and then you just stayed a Steelers fan all the way until you were 50. Well, okay. But if you're just a Seahawks fan for the little bit of time that they're good, that's not right. Like, you can't. You got to be a Bears fan or whatever I guess be a Packers fan or something like that.
But, like, so back to the baseball and the steroids thing, I would personally like the fact that those guys aren't in the Hall of Fame.
Wow. Yeah, that's going to be tough. Because, I mean, you'd have to go – how would you go back and test – I think it's way more rampant than we ever knew.
Well, I think you're right. I think you're right. But the guys that we know, the guys that broke records, the fact that they're not in the Hall of Fame, I love that.
I mean, they made enough money. You don't get that honor because you cheated. I mean, really, it boiled. If everybody wasn't on the same field per se, and some people were doing it, and probably a majority of the players were doing it, I would say. There was probably over 50%.
I was going to say over 60 probably, yeah. Yeah.
So if there was enough people that didn't do it, then you just can't put those people in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Well, the stats and stuff in baseball, like the records are the biggest deal, right? They make the biggest deal when they think it's broken. But really, if you boil it down, none of that shit means anything because they kept changing the rules. They changed the ball. They changed the mound height. They changed the amount of games you play in a season.
Right.
I mean, when Maris and why am I drawing a blank on the other guy? The other Yankee.
Mickey Mantle.
Yeah, Maris and Mantle were going for the record that year. They just changed it not that long ago to get like 162 games. When Ruth had the record, it was –
because a lot of people were pissed at that, right? That they were going to be
– They wanted an asterisk on it.
Yeah.
Well, who knows what they were – so there was an article that they posted about Roy Halladay, where he died in his plane, but he was on meth doing tricks in his plane or
he was
whatever.
On meth when he died?
Yeah. Oh, I thought it was an Onion article. But they said he was on meth and he was doing stunts in his plane, and that's why he crashed. And so I think, too, like back when Babe Ruth was playing, who's to say, like, was he doing cocaine? Like, no one can tell me that he wasn't.
He could have been, and he could have been pissed drunk every time he was out there, too. Who knows what he was using to stay level or whatever.
But is cocaine a performance enhancer?
I mean, I don't know. In some people, maybe it is. Like, I mean, the amphetamine thing was a problem way before the steroids.
Yeah, what was it in the 70s? They were doing like poppers or some shit.
Poppers. I think.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. But
who was the pitcher that pitched the no hitter that was like?
Oh, on LSD.
Yeah, LSD. Yeah.
His name was Doc. He was from the Pirates. Doc Ellis. Doc Ellis. Good call, Jerry. Good call.
God, I love that video. They did like a video of him. It's on the internet. You can find it, and they have clips of like him talking about it, and then they put all these psychedelic shit going on in the video. It's pretty hilarious because he's telling the story, and then they're kind of doing all sorts of weird graphics. Yeah.
I'll check it out.
Back to the steroid thing, though, and not being in the Hall of Fame. What if you're a guy who never broke the biggest records, but you still had good enough stats to be, Harold Baines and make it into the Hall of Fame, and no one tests you for steroids? Because, I mean, you're in, and you're probably in because you took steroids. Like, you probably wouldn't have had those stats.
Yeah, you'd hit 240 and you'd have 15 home runs and you'd play for 10 years and nobody would ever know who you were.
Do we have an example of a guy that we could throw out there like that? Because all the other guys are, McGuire and their Bonds, their heads expanded.
And Sosa.
A-Rod. Clemens. I mean, is there anybody we can think of like that?
Yeah, no. I mean, I don't know how you'd retroactively figure it out either. If you got
you also had borderline players probably that were
Brady Anderson.
Yeah, like maybe, or like just did it to make it to the major leagues, right? And maybe they ended up being a 240 hitter, but had they not done the steroids, they would have never been in the game. Yeah.
There's some guys that you would never be able to tell. Like, I would have never thought that Clemens was a guy.
I think in his later years, you could definitely tell because, he was 44, 45. Like, you're not gaining muscle at that rate anymore.
No, and his temperament changed.
Yeah, it did
big time.
It did.
So,
He became more of an asshole than the asshole he was before. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just don't know if, like, sometimes if you're taking steroids, not for the physical attributes, but the fact that, like, you're doing a repetitive motion thing and it helps you repair faster.
Right.
So you can be a pitcher who's taking steroids, but you're not looking buff. You're just doing it because you're constantly working them ligaments and and you want it to heal. Now, I'm not like, so I have mixed feelings on it because I see these guys now at, like the Joe Rogans of the world who are on TRT.
Right.
And it's more open now. Like, they don't care if someone knows. Like, he's like, he's saying it out loud. Like, he's like, yeah, this is what I'm doing to maintain my youthfulness as far as that goes. He's 53 years old and he, looks like he's 35. You know what I mean?
Right.
So what's the negative when it comes to your overall health?
I'll tell you
later.
I'll tell you. So those guys that are on that testosterone replacement, their blood thickens so much that every so often they have to go and donate blood because the blood that's running through their body is so thick. So, I mean, there's a major risk to that too, as far as.
So I had Dave Patowski on the podcast.
Yeah.
And he was, bodybuilder and steroid user.
Can I just say, I love the fact that Dave is so open about it and doesn't hide it. That's like.
I think that's what he should.
I mean, I don't think you could find a more honest guy about everything. I mean,
that's stepping up.
You may disagree with him on stuff,
but stepping up.
That's what Dave thinks, and Dave is not hiding anything that he thinks.
Right.
I appreciate that about people. I want people to be that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I would rather have someone tell me to my face that they hate my shirt than to walk around with them all day and they hate my shirt. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Bill.
No.
I just want to come in.
No. So, I mean, but so Dave was on there and he definitely took way too much. Like, so when I was saying in baseball, if they could do it to a level that was normal, a normal person could be, right? So, like, everyone's different. One guy's got a higher level testosterone than another guy's got. Like, some guys just carry that higher limit, right?
Mm-hmm.
If everyone that was in Major League Baseball was at the higher end, then that'd be one thing. What Dave was doing was taking 3 and 4 times what the higher end is because he was trying to get too freakishly large size.
You become addicted, right, to that large.
And then there was a big protocol that he has to follow when he would cycle off because you start producing estrogen and you can grow a set of tits if you don't,
your body's trying to regulate itself, right?
Yeah, right. So, I mean, abuse is one thing. And I mean, McGuire and Sosa were obviously taking
bonds too.
Astronomical amounts to be the monsters that they were.
Right.
But if you did it, that it was, I think that there's certain health benefits. I've never done steroids. I would be open to it. In fact, my story is that I went in to the urologist and I'm like, hey, I'm 48. I lift weights and stuff like that. I like to get a little more out of my workout. Guys like Rogan are talking about it. Really, you're crazy not to do it if you're a middle-aged guy. So I went in and they're like, all right, you got to come in first thing in the morning. I had to go in there, take a blood test first thing in the morning because that's when your testosterone's highest. And my problem was I wasn't low enough to get it. Now I'm sure a guy like Rogan, they're not even they're testing them, but they're like, whatever, we're just gonna give you steroids.
Unless he had done steroids in the past. See, once you have done steroids, if you were on them for an extended amount of time, your body stops producing the testosterone at the rate. Yeah. Right. So they had all these in combat sports and UFC. They had all these testosterone replacement exemptions for guys, and guys started abusing that. And you're talking like Michael Bisping lost the eyeball against the guy because he kicked him so hard and lost his eye. Right. So, I think of sports, not every sport's a combat sport. Obviously, hitting a baseball is not a combat sport, but steroids turn a fly out to the right fielder into a home run.
Yes. No,
or a ball back to the pitcher to take his head off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But in combat sports, you're 100% correct because you're going to do damage to people that you shouldn't do. And I mean, I think in the single sports, there's a beauty to the freak, right? So like if you're Mike Tyson and you're 15 years old and you're built like a 26-year-old man, that's a freak, right? I don't think Mike Tyson was doing steroids.
There's rumors that Cuss was giving him HGH.
No shit.
Yes.
Wow.
That would make sense.
Explain a lot of things, right?
Yes, he looked like a 26-year-old man, and he was 15 years old.
He did not pass the eyeball test at 15 years old.
No. Yeah. But then again, like I had a kid in wrestling. He was in 6th grade, and he was just jacked and ripped, jacked, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was coaching him, and I'm like, all right, man. I go, you lift a lot of weights? Are you a gymnast or something? He goes, no, I've never lifted weights in my life. He just was like this. Karen During's son is a kid that, remember, he was Andrew, who was at jiu-jitsu.
Karen During.
Little blonde-haired guy.
Andrew, yeah.
He was like a little jack dude, too.
Yeah,
like a little kid that was
right.
jacked.
Is he still wrestling? Is he still wrestling?
He started wrestling in high school, and he didn't make it to state this year, but he's done well.
He was a good kid. He was a good
kid, and he's like a 182 pounder.
Wow.
In high school, and he was a junior. Yeah, he's a big kid.
Awesome.
He'll have a fine senior year. Wrestling in the 3A division, it's fucking hard. Like, it is really fucking hard.
Mm-hmm.
So if he makes it to state, that'd be a big accomplishment for a guy who didn't start wrestling until he was in high school.
Yeah.
But he was another kid that was just jacked. This kid that I coached when he was in the youth level in high school, he's like 170, 182 pounder. I mean, thighs on him like a horse and everything else. I don't think this kid ever touched steroids. He looked like this in grammar school. Unless his parents were giving him that stuff, I don't know.
Right.
But so there is a freak. But I think those are the thing in individual sports that you're like, yeah, you want the freak, you want the GOAT, you want the guy who's like, holy shit, he's somehow like born to do this sort of thing. But team sports, I don't know, it doesn't.
I don't agree because like you said earlier, am I here to watch the freak of nature or watch the guy that worked hard? Well, the only way that they are on a truly level playing field is if there is no steroids involved, because also steroids react to people differently too. So that guy might be a freak of nature. He's already ahead. You give him steroids. Now he's 10 times ahead of the guy that was going to work hard. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, and you look at the body types now in baseball are not like they were when we were growing up or previous to that. There's no guy that looks like Lamar Hoyt that's pitching
John
right
Kruk
now.
Or
or like, Luzinski,
right.
And so like they were throwing, not as hard, because I think now, I think the average fastball is up by probably 4 or 5 miles an hour as when back then. But you still had guys that were throwing almost 100 miles an hour.
Bob Feller and all those guys.
Nolan Ryan. Yeah. So if, the science of working out and all of that, even absent of the steroids.
Yes.
Has put everyone on a different physical level, at
Absolutely.
a base level.
Yeah, if you took the steroids out of the equation and took athletes from 30 years ago and athletes from now, the athletes from 30 years ago, people love that good old day bullshit, but there's no way. There's no chance. I mean, these people are you stand on the shoulders of everybody that was there before you. So you took what worked for them, and then you added in what worked in the last 30 years. There's better athletes for sure.
Yeah.
Now, are there chemical enhancements? Probably.
I mean, that's the thing. I have a real issue with just like going ahead and saying, all right, let's open the gates or let's try to regulate it. Everybody does it, because it's like that's not what the premise of sports is about. It's
right.
I do my best.
Well, beyond the steroids, what about the other thing that happened with the cheating now?
Well, before we get to that with the Astros and all that other stuff, the other thing about the guys not being in the Hall of Fame, My biggest thing with them is when they went before Congress, each one of them had a chance to say, you know what, I fucked up, or hey, I did it. We wanted to bring baseball back, so we did the steroids. Instead, they were like, Sammy all of a sudden can't speak English. He's got to get a fucking interpreter. Mark McGuire's crying like a little baby.
Right.
Rafael Palmeiro's going, I did not do steroid, you know. If they would have just went up, or even A-Rod, to me, who's the least likable guy in baseball is Alex Rodriguez.
Well, especially at that time.
And even now, like, he's a horrible, and now he's awful. But if they would have went up there and said, you know what, we did it to save baseball. What's wrong with, what do you teach your kids, right? When they fuck up, you teach them to admit that they did wrong, apologize, do whatever they got to do to make it right, and move on.
Again, we're dealing with people with principles. And then there's the whole other thought is the Trump thought where, admit to nothing, never apologize. Like, it's just stick to the story and we're going to be fine. I mean, I knew liars that said stuff like, if I believe it's true, it's true.
Right.
No, it's not. It's still a lie.
That don't make no sense. Like,
No,
yeah.
Right.
But, like, to me, the biggest thing, if they had their chance to admit what they did, and if they admitted it at that time, I would have said, fine, put them in a hall, because they all said, hey, I did it, you know?
Yeah, and they could have said everybody was doing it. It was kind of a level playing field.
Right.
Does anyone, like, I love Frank Thomas, but, like, does anyone really know? Like, the guy was a freaking monster. Like,
he was always
genetically.
a monster, though. Like,
genetically.
Right.
But he never, like, he was that big since he was a child. Like,
Right.
But like
he didn't all of a sudden. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bill.
But look at Tyson.
Yeah.
He was 15 and he was that size. So I mean, maybe Thomas did it before we knew.
Yeah, but I think Tyson was getting fed some stuff when he was.
I feel like
young.
Frank Thomas's sister is like 6'4" or something,
She's
and like
huge.
200 pounds or 220.
Frank Thomas had like the biggest thighs and ass you've ever seen in your life, and so does his sister, I think. So
yeah, I think there's guys out there like that because I mean, Greg Luzinski was a monstrous man. He used to come to the plate, and I'm like, is he holding a toothpick? He looked like he was holding the littlest bat, like one of those little autograph job bats. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, why is he holding that tiny bat?
Right.
He was just a mountain of a man. So there probably are.
Yeah.
It's just, you get that rare football player that decides that they can play baseball at some point, right? Or they play both sports, and Thomas grew like a football player. I mean, he would have been probably really good on the football field had he chose that, right?
Oh, for sure. He was a tight end at Auburn.
Yeah.
Football, I don't think they care if the guys do steroids.
That's the thing. They need to start caring because they would eliminate a lot of these concussions.
But that'd go back to the athlete now and the athlete then. There was somebody the other day who posted, Dave Tiza posted that who would win between Tyson and Muhammad Ali. And I watched, I'm a student or like a fan of the game of boxing back to like Rocky Graciano, like all the old, like I love to find YouTube videos of all them, like
Jack Dempsey
old,
and
all those old fights and watch those old fighters and everything else. And there is no chance that a fighter from 30 years previous is beating the top fighter. I don't believe Muhammad Ali. And Muhammad Ali was wonderful about like looking like he was beat and everything else. And tired, like he had a really good overall strategy of the thing. And then people were just commenting dumb like stuff that doesn't make any sense, saying stuff that's just not true. That Mike Tyson, though he knocked a bunch of people out and he looks like a brawler and he sounds like a street thug with a lift, he wasn't. That guy, Costamato, had him as a student of the game.
He was a technical boxer.
He was watching film for days on end. And if you watch those old training videos with him and Rooney, holy shit, is he technical and ludicrously fast. Like, insanely fast.
Right.
If you watch old videos of George Foreman, who was the same guy as Tyson, but 30 years earlier, it's not even close.
Right.
Well, just the body types again, like
I mean, you can look at
Muhammad Ali and George Foreman, and those guys were not like, they weren't ripped. Mike Tyson, like, you know, like, I mean, even if they're absent of any steroids, even the science of working out by the time that he was in his prime, was so far beyond what was happening in the 70s and the 60s and stuff. Like, those guys probably were still smoking cigarettes before, like, you know what I mean?
Right, they were.
Yeah, you're right.
Look at all the baseball players that you'll see old pictures, and they're all sitting in the dugout smoking.
Channel 9 just had Dave Parker from the All-Star game. He threw this ball from right field and gunned this guy down at the plate. Then they showed him in between innings, he's smoking a cigarette.
Choking down a cig. So, like, the argument that today's players wouldn't kick the ass of, like, yesterday's players is totally, it's just the science. Everything is a science. Even with the, you know, again, absent of the steroid thing, like, people take their diets, all their individual regimens to, like, I mean, Bill, you know, like, I mean, you have your kids, you know, like, they're on a completely different.
The way they cut weight compared to the guys that were in high school, when we were in high school, the way they
the guys walking around in the suits spitting in the cup all day?
Yep. No, right.
I felt horrible for those guys.
Right. The like, one time Peyton was at state. He wrestled out his ass. He was eating a bunch at state, but he beat a bunch of really good guys and was coming back for day 2, and he had to weigh in again. He had to throw the rubber suit on, and he was like doing burpees in my van on the way back to the hotel.
Holy smokes.
He had to weigh in to step on the scale there. He's running around the hotel, doing everything he can to get all the weight off. Then we went back to the arena. He weighed in. He lost like 3 pounds in like 30 minutes that he could weigh in.
Jesus.
But it was just water weight to make sure you make it for day 2.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they've never done anything crazy. It's always just been kind of maintain your weight, be, smart about it and everything else. And they eat plenty of food, just the right food sort of thing. So yes, it's a totally different situation. Now, if you were to phrase it differently and say, take the athletes, take Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson, put them in a time machine to be in the exact same time, raised the same time, and then in their prime, well, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I mean,
but that's like, you can't speculate on that.
Right.
But anyways, so that one, because Mike Tyson had all the physical attributes, but Muhammad Ali, he was cerebral about the game.
He was an
innovator.
He was.
So that's a big deal. Now, baseball and steroids. How do you not, if you're a guy that's making $6 million a year, and if you do steroids, you can get another 4 years out of your career. How do you not do that?
Well, I mean, go ahead, Jared. How do we?
No, I'm going to tell you that shouldn't be a hard choice. If you've already made that much money, that should not be a hard choice. You just retire.
Right.
The hard choice is
You're right.
When you are
bad analogy.
Like that pedestrian guy that's getting the major league minimum, but if you did steroids, potentially you could get that one big contract that pays you $60 million or $70 million, and then you're done.
Right.
Because as far as I'm concerned, like, what's the difference if you got $50 million in the bank or $100 million?
The money was,
but
really
if you
bad,
got 200,000 in the bank, and you may not make the team the next year, like you're going to do steroids.
Well, let me make it different. Let me make it different though.
Okay.
So do you do what if you're a professional football player? Do you do what Brett Favre did, or do you do what Barry Sanders did? Because I'm Brett Favre all day. I would never leave until they drug me the fuck out of here. Like, it's got to be the greatest life, barring the money. Like, the money doesn't. The Jerry's 100% correct. Shouldn't matter. But the lifestyle, the babes, the freaking traveling with the guys, being on the team.
Yeah.
How do you let that go?
I don't think I've ever asked myself that question until I got to be this age, where at this age I'm like, man, I want all my marbles. You know what I mean? I want to be able to walk. I want to be able to run outside with my kids. So I don't know if Barry Sanders had that going on and saw, that coming for him, because, like Favre was a quarterback, and quarterbacks do take hits, but not at the same level as a guy like Barry. And plus Sanders was so freaking small. He was a little dude.
I think he retired from the politics. I think it was.
Did you? Yeah.
I think it was the agents and all the. He was sick of it, so he left. So Jerry's 100% correct. The money doesn't play any part in the superstars, but it's like you see these announcers that hold on forever, and it's like, dude,
like the Hawk.
Yes,
like
all of them do. You see all
yeah.
these old guys, and it's like it's over.
Yeah,
it's been over for 8 years now, man.
Right, but like to Jerry's point, like Barry Bonds did steroids because other guys were getting more attention than him. Like Barry Bonds was a Hall of Fame player.
Yep.
Like you could look at Barry Bonds' baseball card and figure out when he started doing steroids. So he was a Hall of Fame player before that, and he just did them because the other guys got more attention. Which, you know what? Fuck you. You shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. And now he's out there crying, oh, would they just tell me whether they're going to put me in the Hall of Fame or not? They're torturing me. You know what? Go fuck yourself.
Just go away.
Go away.
Spend your money. You made a shit ton of money and you would have made it whether you cheated or not, but you cheated. So, like, I just remember, like, him getting walked with the bases loaded on like a regular basis. And I just thought, like, how does anyone not see that this guy is like got a clear well the thing about steroids too is those fast twitch muscles like are very important in baseball for reacting and hitting the baseball and all of that, like, so the value of a hitter doing it, I would argue, is that it's going to benefit them more. On the pitching side, recovery is going to be easier, but 100%. Just on I think the hitters definitely, it's going to benefit you more as a hitter.
What about from a spectator's point of view? So, like, from a spectator's point of view, in every sport, don't you want to see a guy run faster, jump higher, hit further? Unless it's the combat stuff. Yeah,
I've taken the combat sport out of it, But what I do want, I want to see the most honest players play. And I know, like, you could be a great baseball player or football player and still be an asshole in real life, but I still root for the guys that are better people off the field. But.
Well, then how do you do the race one too then, right? Because you got guys that are in the Hall of Fame for baseball and they wouldn't let a black guy in there. That's not fair, right? That's not even close to fair.
That isn't. But the only, like, there's nothing we can do about, like Rogers Hornsby and all those guys that were totally against them. I mean,
Ty Cobb.
Ty Cobb on paper is the greatest baseball player that ever played, but a black guy wasn't there.
Right.
Facing the competition.
You weren't facing the top level.
The guy's like a 420 batting average lifetime, right? Or something crazy like that.
He's a notorious asshole also.
Absolutely. He fucking murdered somebody in a poker game, right? Like, I love that. What was the movie that was on HBO that they did of his life? Like,
it was Cobb, right? The name of it was Cobb.
Yeah, I think it was Cobb, right? It was the guy writing a book about him. And Tommy Lee Jones played.
Yes.
Fucking awesome movie. Oh my God.
That was a good movie.
Yeah.
That was a good movie. I mean, and that's tough too, because, like, if you go all the way back, like with even the White Sox history, Cap Anson was one of the first guys to say, hey, because after the Civil War, there were teams that had some black guys on there, and Cap Anson was like, we're not going to play you guys if, like, Moses Fleetwood and these other guys play.
Yeah.
So it was like, that's in the history of the Sox, but
right.
The only thing you can do is make it better. Cause, like, you do have to respect the players that played in the Negro Leagues, that, the Josh Gibsons, the Satchel Pages, the Doubleday. I can't remember his whole name, but you got to put those guys in because it's
Satchel
not like
Paige played till he was like 50 years old.
Yeah, and then he was able to play in the majors because he played so long,
Right.
So,
Right. I know. So I mean, all that's so weird, especially in a game. Baseball is like the holy grail of stats. It is everything's so important in there. It just boggles my mind that they changed all the parameters all the time. Raising the mound did so much. I mean, they juiced the ball, and that made it different.
Well, raising the mound gives the advantage to the pitcher, right?
Correct.
Or So didn't they lower it after Gibson?
Yeah, they lowered it
after Gibson had that 143 ERA or something.
Yeah.
Who was a scary pitcher? I would not just.
No, they hit
so
people
hard,
back then. Regular, which is.
Who's the all-time batting average leader, for a regular player? That Ted Williams.
Ted Williams.
Yeah. Okay. That's
Is it Williams?
Yeah.
I mean, not for a guy who didn't play 30 games or something, and
Yeah. Right.
got real lucky or something.
Yeah.
I mean, and then look at the way that some of those guys, Ted Williams and DiMaggio, those guys all left Major League Baseball and joined the fucking Army.
Yeah, imagine Williams' stats if he never joined the Army.
Right. Some of those guys flew combat missions and stuff like that too.
I know Williams did a couple of those.
Right.
Yeah.
They weren't messing around.
No.
I mean, that's a far cry from the world we live in today.
It is.
Those are things that are super cool.
Right.
I still don't want to go back to the good old days,
Yeah. Now we got multi-millionaire assholes thinking their shit don't stink,
Well, now how do you square that circle? Because
I don't know.
It's not – people always focus – it bothers me when people focus on – not what you said, but when people focus on, oh, look at all these millionaire crybaby athletes. Well, wait a minute here. It costs me $200 to take the boys to a damn game and eat a couple of
minimum.
Right. And then, the owners are making 15 times what the damn player's making.
Right.
This whole thing's a fucking racket, if you ask me. It's a bunch of bullshit. It should still be $3. And I just still don't get it. If you're a White Sox fan, or there any team that's, we say White Sox because the stupid Cubs fans say stuff about the attendance.
Yeah.
But if you look at across the major leagues, if a team isn't any good, most every team except for the idiot Cubs fans who just can't stop going to that field,
they don't go.
The worst team ever. They're just sitting there freezing their balls off with their Cubby Blues on. But most ballparks are empty. I don't understand why they're not. If your team's that good for a year, sell $3 tickets.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. Yeah. That's still $3 you weren't going to get.
Right.
Well, you're still going to get some money for your hot dogs and for your beer and all of that shit. So.
Right.
Yeah, your $11 hot dog is still going to make you money.
Right. You got these facilities and they're 80% empty sometimes because the team.
Yeah, sell them for $1. Give a bunch of tickets away to the schools.
And maybe develop some fans. Because Bill, you said when the three of us went to a game last summer, you said it the best. Baseball is the best game to go to live. You're outside. Right. The weather's beautiful.
I enjoy it. I think hockey's a real close one too.
Hockey is the closest second.
Fun game to go
It
to.
It is. Hockey is a horrible game to watch on TV for me still.
Yeah.
But live, it is awesome.
Football sucks live. I can't stand
football is horrible.
No, you got to watch football on TV. I can't even.
Yeah.
I can't even.
I don't know if it's that it sucks that it's live. It's just so much better on TV.
It's so cold.
Yeah, but besides,
it's cold. You can't see. You can't see who is doing what. I'm just asking the person next to me, what happened? Every other play. What's that, an interception? I don't know what happened, because it happens quick if you don't have that camera isolating on the ball and the people that are involved in the play. It's very hard for you, unless we were all sitting on top of the field somehow and looking down at the players. It's very hard.
Straight 90 degree above it looking.
It's very hard to really follow it live. And the weather always sucks at every football game.
It does suck.
In Chicago, at least.
It does suck.
It does. I mean, I think I only been to 3 Bears games, and the last one I was there in full Carhartt because it was.
Yeah.
And you're gonna spend. You probably spent like $500 or $600 to go to one stupid game.
Yes, well, I spent a lot more than that. I took my crew to one, but that one there, I was a pain in the ass. I've been in a fight at Soldier Field. I've been in a fight at the Sox Park. My fight story at Soldier Field, I took my dad and my entire crew to the football game. We're drinking the entire time in the parking lot. We go into the game. I go to take a leak. I'm like, I'm going to get up there before halftime because the line's going to be crazy.
Right.
I walk around the corner and there's the fucking line. I'm like, holy shit, look at this. It's like 30 minutes to get to the damn John. So I'm waiting. I get right to where the doorway is to get in, and this group of 4 fucking guys went to go in the fucking exit.
Want to go around you?
Yeah, they know they're going to cut right through, right?
Yeah.
So one guy starts screaming at him. This little guy in front of me is like, I kind of like took a breath to say something to him, like, and the guy in front of me is like, listen, you motherfuckers. And then he turned around, and I'm like, oh, shit, this guy's got it. So he's like, you can't fucking go in there and everything else. Look at the goddamn line and everything else. And they got, like, right in his face. So, like, I'm like, what are you doing? I go, you're wrong. You're cutting in front of all these people, and now you're going to get in this little guy's face? And, like, well, you got something to say about it? And he went to do the exact same move, like get nose to nose with me. I just watched him do it with him. I reared back and put my forehead right through his mouth and then dropped him. Yeah, and then got on top of him and started beating the shit out of him. So we go into the pisser. I'm taking a leak, and everyone in there's like, oh, that was awesome. I'm like wiping the blood off my face and everything else. We come out, and the Andy Frayne guy tackles me.
Really?
Jeez.
And then the other guys came out, they're like, no, it wasn't him, it was them. And the Andy Frayne guys listened to them. I go back to my seat. I'm not saying a fucking word to anybody. I sit down. My dad goes, that took you a long time. And I'm like, yeah, it was just really busy. And
long line, yeah.
Everything else. I'm sitting there watching the game. 2 minutes later, 4 guys come walking up. They're like, you kicked that guy's ass in the back. My dad's like, yeah, fucking can't take you anywhere. Like, yeah, it just finds me. Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, going to a football game blows. It's miserable. It's fucking.
It is miserable. It is.
But what were we saying about baseball? If you give those tickets away to the schools, you will build kids that want to play baseball, no doubt. And that is a huge problem, especially in like the urban and black communities. Like black kids don't want to play baseball anymore. No, like, largely because they don't have
access to
programs like they do in the suburbs where you have fields and you have all the stuff. They don't have a lot of that. So only the kids that are really passionate about wanting to play the game end up playing the game. And then some of the other kids go to basketball or football, or some of them just don't play sports. And like when you're a young kid, baseball is one of the sports that almost every kid can play up to some point, right? Like, and then, once you get to high school or whatever, like maybe you wash out on it or whatever. But like when we're all 8-year-old kids, we can all be on the same baseball field, right? Like, and some kids are better than others, but generally we all suck at baseball when we're 8 years old, right? Like, so it's just a way to, socialize and a way to teach some of life lessons and to teach teamwork, right? Like, because it's a team sport.
If all you were interested in as an owner was money, you'd at least learn from the drug dealers, right? You hand out free shit until they want to come back and get it, right? So
you get these kids hooked when they're young, and they will
you give them the tickets when the team sucks. When the team's good, they'll come spend their money to come see the team because the team's good. I mean, even for us, like I go to a Sox game, I don't care how bad the team is. I'm going to go to a game or two every summer.
Yeah.
So, but if they're good, I want to go to a dozen games.
You want to go to more, right?
Oh,
Right?
yeah, I want to go there all the time. I love it.
Yeah.
But if you're a kid that's 10 years old, you want to go to every game.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Right? Like,
Yes.
you don't care.
But you can't, because I mean, like you said, it costs an arm, and it costs a couple $100 to go each time. I love, that's why I think I've really fallen in love with the minor league parks, the Rail Cats.
Yeah, you came up by us. This summer we went to a
the Rail
Cats
Cats,
game.
the Thunderbolts, and the Slammers. I try to get to those parks every year. They are so much fun. It's $5. The food's cheap. I take my family if they go. If the kids get bored, we want to leave early. You don't feel like, oh my God, I didn't get my money. No, you get your money's worth. It's awesome.
They have beer.
They have beer, cheap beer. I walked around. I walked back to my family with an armful of drinks and food, and it
was like $25.
It was $18. I could not freaking believe it.
Right.
And I remember being at a football game, and the guy ordered a hot dog and a water, and the girl goes, "That'll be $18." And the guy goes, "I ordered a hot dog and a water," and she goes, "Yeah, it's $18." He goes, "A hot dog and a water is 18." Like, he couldn't get over that a hot dog and a water was $18.
Yeah, right.
That's
like the movie theater, but with the sport, the baseball, yesterday Trump was saying that they want to do these phases, right, to open up the country. So everything. And, at some point they're going to get back to opening up baseball fields and to the audiences. And so I can wrap my brain around, if a bunch of people get the virus and then they have antibodies, then we're getting a certain amount of population out of the way where they can't get it anymore. But otherwise, like they were talking about opening up baseball in a way where they would sit 50 people together and then skip a little bit and put 50 people down and stuff like that, like try and make it. He was saying with the restaurant, if you had a restaurant,
signing up for that shit.
I know. You had a restaurant that had
from a business standpoint, I don't think that there's ever going to be a way to do that, because if a player catches it and they can prove they caught it, playing baseball, or if a fan comes in and they can prove somehow that they were exposed to it at that ballpark, they're gonna sue, and they die, the family's gonna sue. It's very, I don't know, from a liability standpoint, I don't think you can do it.
No,
I don't think you can have fans.
It's not that easy to do. I mean, from a guy who had a lawsuit, and it didn't work out, you'd have to prove negligence of some sort. So if they made you, if your ticket said on every ticket that you're waiving your right, then corporations find ways around that shit all the fucking time.
Well, the players would have to waive their right, though.
Right. No, agreed. But yeah, they would find a way around that in a heartbeat. And you're going, it would say, there'd be signs that say enter your own risk or some shit like that.
Right.
Be all on your own. But I just don't know how they're going to get. Listen, man, we're White Sox fans. I want this thing back online as fast as possible.
About it?
Now. Let's get this shit
right fucking now.
But then again, we can't have people all dropping dead because we went to a baseball game because,
Right.
So
it's like the UFC wanted to put on those fights, and they were like, we're going to test everybody and blah, blah. It's like, why are you going to test
Fight Island or some shit?
Yeah, there's fucking guys, they're fucking sick. They can't get tests. And you're going to fight. Mm-hmm. You're going to put this thing on just because.
Well, that's what's infuriating, where those basketball players that didn't have symptoms or whatever, right before they shut down the NBA.
Right.
Somehow they had plenty of tests for all of those people.
Right.
And you've got people that have symptoms in the Chicago, the greater Chicago area, that still can't get tested.
But
speaking of that, I watch Rogan, and you know what that fucking guy's doing? He's testing everybody who comes on the show. He's got a bunch of tests. So the guest comes to be on the show.
How the fuck did
That's fucking infuriating.
I know. Isn't it irritating? So Rogan they've tested himself twice now. And then so he's periodically testing himself. And then whenever a guest shows up, they come into a waiting room. They have a doctor there on staff. He's testing the person. They wait for the results, which is like 45 minutes or something like that. And then when they're clear, they go have the podcast.
Oh my God.
It's a blatant situation.
Oh my God.
Right.
Yeah. So if you have money,
I'll be right back.
Right.
If you have money, you're getting tested.
Right. That's exactly it. Multiple times for nothing, right? I mean,
and to do a fucking podcast.
Right. Right.
It's not an essential. What I would rather they do is Joe Rogan, give all your fucking tests to the grocery store employees or the hospital employees that have to fucking go there and be there so everyone can survive this. Say, I'm shutting down the podcast.
Right.
Or do it like this.
Right.
He doesn't need to have fucking assholes come to his studio. I mean, Bill, you and I are somehow able to do remote podcasts, and we're just fucking guys that went to Lincoln Way or whatever.
Right. And our podcast right now look just as good as the late Colbert.
Right. It looks just like SNL right now to me.
This SNL is not running anything right now, are they?
Last week they did like this. Every cast member did an individual skit. So
God, oh my God.
Yeah, and then they had they had a bunch of lo-fi shit like we're doing on Zoom or whatever. And it was cool, but that's socially responsible. But Joe Rogan tested every guest.
For sure that name a wealthy guy, Bloomberg, Bezos, Buffett, all the Trumps, every single one of those person owns a ventilator, right? They've got a ventilator in a closet somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
For the day that they get thrown in the hospital, there's no ventilator. Well, I've got my own.
It magically appeared.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if you're rich, you're not living in the. Did you guys?
Well, I'm sure that there's some private hospital rooms that you can decide that you want to pay extra for, right? All these hospitals are for profit now, so I'm sure.
Netflix has a series called Explained on there. You ever seen that?
I've seen it on the feed.
They did one on billionaires, and Mark Cuban is being interviewed, and he goes, "Ask me what's the worst thing about being a billionaire?" And they ask him, and he's like, "Nothing, absolutely nothing."
You gotta love it.
It's the greatest fucking thing ever. I can get anything I want. Everything is mine. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
They live in a whole nother planet than So when we're trying to elect one, I'm always like, how can we elect somebody like this that would have no clue what a normal
concept? Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's Trump. Right? He thought you had to produce an ID to buy donuts at the grocery store.
Yeah.
Yeah. But back to baseball. My other point about baseball being delayed is that spring training, the Astros were getting beamed at an incredibly high rate, which would have been awesome to continue to see when they played the Nationals, when they played, the Red Sox, when they played the White Sox, because the White Sox were the first, that was it Farquhar? Was the first
one? The guy that got
the clot or whatever.
Or the stroke.
The stroke. But he called them out. He said, dude, they're banging on the ground. He did. He said, they're banging on the garbage can every time I'm throwing an off-speed pitch.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was Farquhar.
Yeah, he was the first one to call him out. Yeah.
Well, so their whole thing is that they started way back when they started their rebuild, which was, I think, shortly after the White Sox beat them. They kind of, in 05 in the World Series, they started rebuilding in 05. That rebuild's been going on for
a lot of years,
over a decade. I mean, and they decided they were one of the first teams that adopted all, after the Oakland A's, but they went strictly on the metrics.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But I think that in doing that, they put in all those cameras and all of that stuff. I mean, obviously they developed a way to cheat on the field as well as, in how they did their drafting and all of that. There's a book called The MVP Machine that's out there where, it basically says, like, if your slider is like you strike out most people with your slider, you just throw it more. It's a pretty kind of an obvious thing, but they took it to a new level.
They did. What's that, Bill?
The Patriots.
Yeah.
They're same thing. I mean, anybody who's got a prolonged, maybe you get addicted to winning. I don't know what it is, but if you're head and shoulders above the rest, someone better take a look at what you're doing.
Yeah. But the Astros, the way they started that was there was an intern that figured out how to set up the cameras and be able to relay the information back to the dugout. They had an intern do that. But, like, the sign stealing thing's been, like, Bobby Thompson, the shot heard around the world, the Giants win the pennant, the Giants win the pennant. Well, there's supposedly some guy from the Giants in the center field with binoculars that had been given signals in, all game.
Like Morse code or something.
It's something.
Yeah, base runners are always doing that shit too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but where do you draw the line? I mean, is it okay if a base runner sees it? Because it's just on the field as opposed to using technology or using somebody outside of the field. Where do you draw the line?
I don't know. How do you get around it? How do you stop them from doing it? Like, I mean, can you do something where you have electronics and the pitcher can talk to the catcher instead of doing the signs?
Yeah. Well,
I didn't even really think of that.
I didn't think of that either. But some fucker would figure out how to
break into that.
Intercept that shit.
So speaking of that, I'm all for time. I'm the least Paul Bunyan person in the world, right? I don't give a shit about the old way or none of that shit.
Right.
I think that they should go to machine calling balls and strikes. I want it right more than I want the human.
Oh, I'm with you on that. I mean, just have the 100%. Umpire there to give the signal, But he should be relayed whether it was a ball or a strike.
Right.
I got no problem with that because, man, sometimes you watch a game and it's like so inconsistent because they're human. We have all these things that interfere with our decision making, whether or not you like the guy, whether you got to, you know what I mean? Like, there's so
I don't
much
know. I just think that you have to, like, I don't want to watch a game where the people that win are the best cheaters, I guess is.
That's
you know what I mean? Like
with the steroids too, but yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't want to watch that.
Right.
But it's been ingrained in baseball. Any kind of advantage over, even back in the good old days or whatever, when they didn't have black people playing or whatever, like that cheating was like, it was okay. Like throwing a game on purpose, maybe not, obviously the Black Sox, but also I think with that whole thing, ownership and the integrity of the league was far more important because those guys saw that, baseball was a bigger thing than just these players or whatever. So they wanted to send a message.
Way back when too, there were guys that were like going out there with pine tar, throwing the Vaseline ball, they bring a file out there. What was the Naked Gun movie? And the guy like had everything, right?
Yeah. Like, but was it Phil Negro or Joe Negro had the file in their pocket when the umpire came out to check? Yeah, he tried to throw it out.
He was the knuckleball guy, right?
Yeah. But like, to me, cheating is cheating as opposed to if you're on second base and you figure out a signal. To me, that's different. To me, that's different than setting up a camera so you could relay information back. That's different than putting Vaseline on your cap.
Yep.
You know what I mean? or
putting corks in your bat. Is that okay? Do you think?
Sammy did it. It must have been okay. Sammy did
It's
it.
fine.
It must have been all right.
You're saying that a certain level of cheating, okay.
But is it cheating though? Is it cheating if you're sitting on second base and you're like, man, that guy put down 2-1-2 and that's a curveball. He did it twice in a
Or
row.
you just put down one. It's a fastball, I guess.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Is that, or is that different from a guy that leans this way when he's going to throw his curveball? He leans further one way or the other. You know,
I would say tell. I mean, if we're playing cards and you can somehow there's a mirror, you can see
Bill,
my card.
you know as well as I do. If you play cards long enough with one person, you know their tells. You know,
That's different to me than if there was a fish tank behind me and you could see my cards and you weren't telling me. You're seeing the signs. If you're seeing a tell that the guy has, that's probably skill in the game, right? You should try and do that.
But you're going to tell everybody else about it, right? Like, you're not going to be like, oh, well,
no,
I know.
if I'm sitting at a poker table, I'm not telling nobody else.
Well, no, but in the game of baseball,
for sure,
everybody on your team is going to know, well, this guy drops his arm, a quarter inch when he's going to throw an off-speed pitch, or like he like has some nervous thing where he like scratches the back of his thing, and then that's a curveball.
Well, the biggest football one is the lineman, right? So if it's a run play, they're going to be on their hands more. You're going to see you almost see their fingers change color because of the pressure that they're putting in the ground, as opposed to a run play when they're going to.
That's not cheating. That's just paying attention to the idiosyncrasies of the game.
So is that different from being on second base and picking up a signal, though?
Yeah, a signal's part of like it's communication that you're picking up
on. But isn't that the pitcher and the catcher's fault for having too stupid of signals or whatever? I used when I coached in Little League, I used my face like to tell the pitcher like where to throw the pitch. It was like here,
really?
here. Oh yeah.
Was this like
I used
outside?
it for years? Yeah, I used it.
And nobody
for
picked
years.
up on it.
No one picked up on it. Like, it was just so dumb. Like, it's like, oh yeah. They're like, well, how do we know what to throw? And I'll be like, well, I'll tap this arm if it's a fastball, and this arm if it's a curveball, and then I'll just put it on my face where to throw it. And like, you would think like that's like the dumbest thing. Like, everyone could see that, but no one picked up on it. Wow. So like, in baseball though, like in the major leagues, obviously, like if you have a sequence, you're going to know after the first inning what that sequence is, right?
If you have a camera and you start charting, yes.
Yeah.
For sure. But it's very difficult to do on your own.
They're always covering their mouth when they talk because motherfuckers were hiring lip readers to read the lips of the people talking at the mouth.
Were they really?
Yeah, you see that? They always cover their mouth.
Yeah, they're always talking into their glove like this, yeah.
Hiring lip readers to be like, that's what he's saying.
No shit. I did not know that.
Talking about, big money, big competition, man. They're going to, I think it's all hell.
But do you think, so the Astros, they came out and said, yeah, we got caught cheating, but I really don't think it affected the games.
Astros.
Yeah. Astros are just straight up taking away. I'm not saying
Jose Altuve ain't hitting that many home runs if he doesn't know what's coming. I'm sorry.
No. Fuck
He's a midget to start with.
Right.
He's a little person.
Cats and they were way off.
Sorry. That's offensive.
He's the little person.
I don't think they like that either.
No, but he's
short.
And the thing was, like, after it came out that they got caught, they were like, well, we still won. We still, won the world. We still deserve to be there.
Well, you guys could have had cameras too. So that's my so my thinking is now that this is out, how do you prevent another team from having a similar system? You can't. You can't. You look at those splits from the Astros playing at home and the Astros playing on the road, and there is no question that they cheated
I wish Dave was here. Dave probably has those numbers down to a T. Yeah.
Oh, they are vastly different. And so my thing is, do you just let all the teams do it now?
No.
No.
No, you put somebody from the major leagues in the fucking dugout.
That's a good idea.
An impartial person, because
you put somebody up in the camera room, and then you put somebody in the dugout. Yeah. That's what you have to do, right? An umpire.
You have a field inspection. You know, you go through it. Now it's like with every crime, the criminals are always one step ahead, and everybody's always catching up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is just the way life goes. But like, you should be having people from MLB in those dugouts, you know, that are impartial.
Well, somebody said they had the tens, like they figured out how to rig like one of those tens machines for your muscles.
Yes.
To signal.
After who? So
well, it was Altuve.
No, it was Altuve that they said had it. But somebody said, what's with the fucking banging or the whistling? They were banging and whistling. And that's when they tried to go to the tens unit.
Right. So you'd feel a little buzz on your leg or on your chest or whatever.
Right.
Or two little buzzes if it was going to be a different pitch.
Right.
So even with someone in the dugout, how do you prevent that?
Well, that's a good question. But they still had to have that camera set up. So they had what Farquhar called them when Farquhar called them out. They had a TV screen set up in the dugout, and it was. And when he called them out, they ripped that off the wall and they went to a portable one. So if anybody called them out, they would just zing the thing into the locker room or whatever to make sure that it wasn't there. So there needed to be a camera signaling to the guy in the dugout who then sent the signal to the batter somehow. That was the banging on the garbage can. Then they were whistling like charge at one point. They were whistling that at one point too. So
I don't know.
I think that's like the scene from Goodfellas, right, where the guy was cheating in the casino and he had the electronic thing on his thigh.
Yeah. Was that in Blackjack? Was he playing Blackjack on that one?
I don't know what I thought he was. Yeah, I don't know what he was playing with.
Yeah,
he was telling him what to do or whatever. Like that. Busting them out, but I don't know. You're always going to get cheaters for sure because it's easier to cheat and win than it is to just win. But okay, so I mean, I guess in baseball, I agree. If they could, they're always going to be ahead of the game on that too, though, with the steroids. That what was that outfit in California that like had the Balco situation where they figured out chemically how to mask everything, and those guys were taking steroids and passing the piss test no problem. Right, because MLB wouldn't let them take the blood test. The blood test was the only detectable one. So
so you just did the piss test, and that was
the Balco was making it through the Olympics. Because I thought there were a couple Olympians that were making it.
They were getting through the Olympians too. Yeah, they were for sure.
It's all blood tests and everything else.
No, I think the Olympics started around the time the Olympics started. Blood testing is like when like Marion Jones and
got caught.
And when all them started getting caught. Yeah.
That stuff's all crazy, right? Because I mean, those guys are technically amateur athletes, and they're spending tens of dollars.
Get rid of the amateur status. I mean, you're not kidding anybody anymore.
No. Just pay the people to be in the Olympics. What's the fucking problem? I don't understand.
It's a great sports festival.
Yeah.
Pay them.
I'm all for paying the NCAA athletes too. Like that.
I 100%. 100%.
So much money on
basketball, the football players.
Oh,
I mean,
my God, it's absurd. It's absurd.
They said that March Madness, when they canceled that, it was a loss of $900 million in revenue.
Yeah.
And I just thought, who the fuck is getting all that money? Not the players.
Not the people you're tuning in to see.
$900 million.
And just imagine, like, the coaches are very highly paid in Division I
Right.
basketball, and they're probably on the bottom tier of like the Big Ten executives and the Pac-12 executives and all those guys. You know,
Yeah.
so it's crazy. It's crazy, but you should be paying those guys.
Yeah, they say that those bowl games for the for the NCAA bring in millions and millions of dollars. Every single one of those bowl games is set up as a charity, which is bullshit. Like,
just what other organization do you have like 100%? And I realize like people are gonna say, well, they're getting an education. Fuck those people. Number one, that say that. Fuck those people.
Right.
Number two,
Trump
okay, so
say that.
even if it's like you go to like an expensive college and it's $30,000 a year to go to that college or whatever, that is not enough money if you're playing in a bowl game.
Yes.
To make,
because in that one,
you could be out of football
in that one Jerry,
game.
in that one bowl game, you could pay the whole team's education in one game.
Yeah, one
you paid
game
for 4 years of college for
or
that
even
whole fucking
not
team.
even a bowl game, just a regular season game.
Yeah, like a Clemson or Alabama or
Big
something
Ten
like
game. Yeah, whatever.
They hold 110,000 people. Well, I'm sorry, Bill. What was that?
A bone, right? They made it that they can make money off their name now.
Oh yeah, so you can get like shoes and shit or whatever.
Yeah, but I love that you couldn't make money off of your own likeness and name before that. I mean, if that's
I know. So you're on a video game, like one of those NCAA football games.
Yeah.
And you're like, your name is on there,
yes.
and they sell a fucking ton of those games.
Yes.
And like whatever.
You get shit.
And you don't get nothing.
You don't get nothing. You don't get nothing. You don't get nothing. You're just the fucking pawn in the NCAA.
It is, it's modern day slavery is what it is. And
it is.
At least in baseball, there isn't that component. Like when you are drafted in baseball, like you start to get paid immediately, right? Like if you're on a minor league team or if you're in rookie ball or whatever, you're getting paid. Like if you go to college, well, you're getting your education or whatnot, but like there's no minor league NFL, and I think that there should be.
1 second here, guys. Hold on.
All right.
Okay.
All right. I'll be right back.
Yep. I gotta pee.
I know. Those guys that deliver my stuff, it's like, man, I tip them above and beyond what's my normal tipping.
Right. No, for sure. I mean, that job is. That's another one that they should be getting paid a whole lot more. We were just talking about the sports stuff. It is crazy that athletes get paid what they get paid, but that all runs from ticket prices, right? The
demand is there. People are still paying for it, right?
Right. But I mean, it shouldn't be that way. But we're never going to have – we let people in this country like the NFL. The NFL will not let anyone see the books. No one knows what NFL owners make. No, they won't even let.
Remember the Chris Rock joke? I don't want to be Shaq. I want to be the guy that writes the check to Shaq.
Right.
That's
for it. Right.
Yeah, that's the guy I want to be.
That should be the regulation that goes on. Jesse Ventura said, he goes, people are always bitching about the minimum wage. Worried about that. You got, jackass, the people that, fuck them, Jerry. The assholes that are always bitching about the minimum fucking wage, right? To fuck them.
Right.
Like,
100.
The biggest fucking problem in the world that you're mad at some fucking burger flipping McFlippertons making $15 an hour. This bothers you. Then you go fuck yourself. Like,
how does that bother you? How does that fucking bother you? The McDonald's Corporation is worth billions.
Right. They're idiots. They believe that somehow their Happy Meal is made by, time and material. And it's not how a Happy Meal is figured at all. A Happy Meal is figured by a marketing strategy. Right. They go out there and they figure out how much can we charge for this shit fucking meal, and people will not buy it.
So right. You go to the maximum, like down to the penny of like, what's the tolerance for how shitty this food can be, how cheap we can make it, and how much can we squeeze out of every little thing on this menu.
Right.
So like that's the calculation. It has nothing to do with like maybe people that work at McDonald's, they can train. They're easily trained or whatever. I don't know.
But sometimes it's the only, in some neighborhoods, it's the only work available.
Right. Right.
And I mean, if your quarter pounder and cheese and your shitty thing of fries and your thing of fucking syrupy goddamn pop was made on time and material, to cost you 50 cents for the whole fucking thing, because don't take any time and material to make that shit. It's garbage.
I think a pop from the fountain was like 18 cents or 20 cents or something like that. I think
when it started.
Yeah. I think that's all it is.
For a half gallon of that shit.
Yeah, but like, so my issue is everybody screams like when you demand that the bottom line worker makes more money. That's socialism. That's communism. That's this. That's that. But if the bigwigs up here making millions, if not billions, and then
there has to be a ceiling and a floor.
Well, hold on 1 second. And your bottom line worker is making minimum wage or a little bit above it. The socialism comes from us having to pay for that person to be on welfare while they're
right,
working.
because rich people aren't paying fucking taxes, so it's the people that go to work every day,
right.
or
so
the middle class.
Wouldn't it be
people.
a benefit to everybody to say, hey, instead of $1 billion, you make 850 million, and then you could pay all your other workers 20 to 25 bucks an hour, and then they won't have to be on welfare. Like,
no, if you work,
isn't that less socialism, or is it me? Or
you would have to eliminate the stock market because people love to speculate and gamble. I mean, that's what the stock market is, right? It's legalized gambling. There's no reason for it, really.
For sure.
It enables monopolies and enables all kinds of things that are really capitalist.
That are anti-capitalism.
If you get listed on the stock market and you're even a shitty company, automatically you've got investors from everywhere, right? And then all you have to do is just put a good spin on your shitty product.
But isn't that socialism?
Full of cash.
Isn't that isn't that a form of socialism? Hey,
it's a bunch of people investing in one company,
which is socialism.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a shitty company. I put my bullshit little stock out there. Everybody invests in it. Isn't that socialistic? It's not based on the product I put out. Isn't capital?
But it's not socialistic. Would be that. So a true socialism would be that like if they always want to point to Venezuela or some shithole fucking South American country, in those countries the government owns the resources.
Right.
The government owns corporations. Government owns the oil fields. We don't have any of that going on. What we have is democratic socialism. So it's like saying, hey, we need to take money in, and then we need to vote on what we need to buy with that money. And all we're saying is, I want to get something for the money that I'm spending. And I don't want to buy tanks and jets. So can I not buy tanks and jets? I want to buy education and healthcare, because that's really what makes a country better, is when you're smart and you fucking are.
Right.
That's the simplest thing in the world. But Jesse Ventura was saying that people are always worried about a minimum wage. Why don't we have a maximum wage? Why isn't there something that says there is no reason why a guy should make $1 billion? Bezos is making $11 billion in a year.
Right.
Well, I was thinking about this the other day, and I thought, okay, so if we have these kind of like salary cap situations in sports, right? Like in the NBA and in the NFL or whatever, and they're designed to keep the competition so there's a level playing field, right? So like some people will make smart decisions with their money, some people will make dumb ones. The people that make the dumb ones, you fucked up and your team's not going to be good for a while. So like, why not do that on the level of a country? Like, just say, okay, well, you have a maximum amount of money that you can make. You can make you can buy a fucking $1 billion yacht or whatever, but like that's going to take up like 40% of your money. So like, maybe like make a good decision about like how you're going to use your money and your resources. And the big companies, like you've said before, Bill, they're using more of that commons, more of the roads, more of the infrastructure, more of all that stuff, but yet they're not contributing at all. And in fact, they're profiting on the working people.
Not only not contributing.
We've become, instead of a country that makes stuff, and that's how we innovate, we make stuff, we've become a country that's, the economy is based on us buying shit. Right. So if we're not out there buying more shit, that's why the economy goes to hell.
That's the panic right now, right? Yeah.
Well, that's the other thing too, is all those corporations, they utilize employees that can read, write, and do math because of public schools. Then they pay nothing into the public school system. So it's like all assed up and backwards. But you know what? Since the late 70s or 80s, wealthy people have been trying to figure out a way to push the tax burden onto the middle class and then not pay any taxes, because it's wonderful not to pay any taxes. I mean, ask anyone who runs a church. It's a thing to not pay taxes.
Right.
You know,
just put all the money in your pocket.
but what's wrong with sitting down with, okay, obviously the business leaders, they're in a position now where they have all the power. But what's wrong with sitting down with them and saying, okay, if you made $1 billion last year and your bottom line workers making $9.95 an hour, you know, I won't tax you at this certain rate as long as you give them more money.
I think that there should be a gap.
You know what I mean?
You know what I mean? So like you can only have a multiplier. You can only have a multiplier. And I mean, I'm going to say a crazy thing, but a multiplier of 50 would be about 10 times less than what the multiplier is now. So if you're a CEO, you can only make 50 times what your average employee.
Right. That's how you have to do it.
Right.
Well, I worked for a pharmaceutical company for 13 years just out of college. I worked while I was in college, and then 13 years or 10 years after out of college. And our CEO's salary like doubled and tripled in the amount of time I was there. And when I was leaving, I left because we got bought out and they shipped everything down to Georgia. And our bottom line worker made $15 an hour. They were paying people 10 years after I started $8.95 an hour. So like while his salary went up 110, 120%, the bottom line workers' money went down so much. And it's like, at a certain point, that's just not right. It's just not.
Right. No, it's greed. And it's a situation where the people who own Walmart, every year at the end of the year, they show up to a board meeting and they say, okay, I know we made, $4 billion a piece, but tell us how we're going to make $5 billion next year.
Yeah, because we got to satisfy. Well, I mean, they're privately owned still, right? They're not even a traded company.
Oh, I don't even know that. Is Walmart not traded publicly?
I don't think so.
Oh,
wow.
But they just get all the money.
But
Amazon's not traded publicly either.
Amazon is, right?
Yeah, I thought Amazon was. Yeah.
But
maybe Walmart is too.
To Bill's point, I lived through that. I lived through the years where, hey, you're not getting a bonus this year. We were.
Oh, they are. They are on the stock market.
Are they?
So.
But I can remember sitting in the office with my boss going, "Hey, you're not getting a bonus this year. We made $310 million last year. We were supposed to make $320. We only made $316. So you don't get a bonus because we lost money." It's like, how do we fucking lose money?
Right.
You know? But yet the CEO got his fucking bonus.
Yeah, sure.
All the top executives got their bonus. I didn't get mine.
Well, look at the situation we're in right now. The situation we're in right now, people won't take, I like podcasts because I got Jack King coming on the podcast.
Jack is a wonderful human being. I haven't seen him in a long time. Tell him I said hello.
Super smart, and he's got a lot of information about stuff, but people don't take the time to ever learn anything about anything. The situation that we're in right now is just 2 years ago, the Republicans and Donald Trump gave corporations like $1 trillion of their own money back to them, right? Because they didn't pay any fucking taxes. Gave them $1 trillion. They took that $1 trillion and they inflated their stock price with the $1 trillion, right? So they spent all that money on buying their own stock back. So then now when a catastrophe hits, they don't have any money. They run right to the government and say, can you print us a handout? Can you give us something? Listen, this is supposed to be capitalism of some sort. Go fuck yourself.
Right.
You spent all your money on
sink or swim, go out of business. We don't care. Let someone buy you.
I don't care
That's
about
true capitalism, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't care about any of that. Any of them. People say stuff like Trump was just saying we got to save the airlines. The airlines.
Yeah.
No, we don't.
There's two young guys out there that own 2 small planes, and they could get money lent to them to buy more or buy assets that United has because they're going under.
Right.
And then they could become one of the big guys. Instead, we carry these corporations. It makes no sense.
Yeah. But that's socialism.
Well, I was talking to my sister today about the PPP, right? And luckily, her and her husband, they both own the gymnastics gyms or whatever, and they were in early on getting those loans, so they got them. Yeah. But now they've run out of money because little thing called franchises, right? So they're all like Papa John's. If you got a Papa John's franchise, send out an email right at the beginning of this. Go and borrow as much money as you can by this PPP, and down any franchise business, because even McDonald's, they have franchises or whatever. So all these big conglomerates sucked all the fucking money that was supposed to go out of into small businesses out of that fund.
Right.
It was supposed to be 500 employees or less. Well, if you own a Papa John's, you're probably, even if you own 10 Papa John's, you probably don't have 500 employees. Right?
50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but you're sucking that money out. And meanwhile, you're a publicly traded company. Of course, Papa John's corporate could afford to support probably all their stores for a long time,
and only be like 1/8 of their wealth or something that they would lose.
And the pizza business is like one of the businesses that is still operating. You can deliver pizza, you got pizza tonight, not from Papa John's, but that's what I mean. Like the loophole was, and if you have a consumption-based economy, you should have just said, we're not bailing anyone out. We're going to give all the money to the people. Right. We don't give a fuck.
Corporations are going to get the money anyway. They should have written all the checks. They should have, if you want to write checks for $10,000 to people that need money are just going to spend that money. And guess where they're going to spend it? With corporations. They're they're going to pay their rent. They're going to pay their mortgage. Right. They're going to, they're going to order shit from Amazon and order pizzas. You wouldn't be worried about the goddamn thing. The economy wouldn't have skipped a beat. There wouldn't be this unemployment. None of this shit would matter because everyone would buy exactly the same shit that they would have bought anyway. And it would mitigate this whole stupid fucking movement now where people are like, I need to go back to work. Like, it's killing my small business. Well, if you're getting a couple, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month, depending on if you have kids or not. Yeah. Okay, well, you know what? I got to put my business on hold for a little while. Yeah. I'm fine. Like, I can live. I haven't gotten the $1,200 check yet.
My parents got theirs, and I know I think my mom said my brother got his too, his stimulus check.
How's that work for a married couple? You guys get one each?
Yeah, supposedly, and then what? $500 a kid or something?
I think $500 a kid. Yeah.
So I wonder, like my boys are in a funky spot because do
they count still at 18?
Well, they're 18. They'll file taxes for last year, but they didn't for 18. They didn't file any. 2018 they were 16. So what you call it? So I don't know how that'll work for them. I don't know if their mother will get money or something like that. I'm not going to see a dime of that.
Yeah.
But, even though I'm feeding them shit, we're going through $1,000 of groceries a month here right now.
Yeah, it's like feeding a couple of horses.
Yeah.
I buy bags and bags of trail mix, and I go look in the cabinet, like, holy shit, you ate all of it. Pounding down the food. But so So now, which league is it? Baseball or football that has profit sharing? So, like, if you're the Yankees, you share, or is it football that does that?
No, baseball has
Baseball does
they
it,
share
yeah.
the revenue with
One
some of
them
the
doesn't.
teams that. I don't think the NFL shares revenue at all because they have
NFL
salary cap.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know what? Everybody does a thing that's sort of socialistic. Like the theory is that way, where if you're the worst team, you get the first pick.
Right.
Right.
Make things equal. So that like all these things that seem logical to everybody because it is logical.
Yeah.
For some reason to Republicans and Trumpsters, it's not logical. It's anti-American. It's
right. But what's funny about the salary cap? It's the billionaires, owners that wanted it.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's your like if you're an NFL team,
right.
Do you know how if there wasn't a fucking salary cap, you know how good the Bears would be? I mean, they would be like they would have
to say because they've been some cheap ass motherfuckers over the years.
They have been some cheap ass motherfuckers, but they are one of the most profitable NFL teams over the last 50 fucking years or whatever.
Right.
You know,
if they were forced to spend that money back into players, it'd be a different fucking story.
Right.
Then they would be right.
But so if you have a salary cap in football, you just think of it as like, oh, my labor cost is fixed forever.
But that's
right?
okay. So that's what now baseball doesn't have a salary cap, right?
They have what do they call that if you go above it?
It's a luxury tax.
Luxury tax. Which the Yankees just say, fuck it, we're paying the luxury tax.
Right. So that's how the Yankees right.
Yeah. That's how the Yankees win every year.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're a small team, then you can't. But in the NFL, with that cap, that allows teams like the Packers who you don't have any local fans. That fucking town's the size of Joliet. So like it is.
Well, the thing about a salary cap, if you have one or if you don't have one, you need to have a floor. Like the baseball teams that don't spend enough money, like the Pirates or whatever.
The Pirates were accused of this for years, right?
Yeah, you just get rid of your players when they become arbitration eligible, and then you don't have to fucking pay them. And who cares? Because still 20,000 people a game are going to go to that shithole stadium in Pittsburgh or whatever and watch the game, and you're going to make your money. Like there needs to be some sort of floor, but largely I think we just have a problem with normal working people. Like if I was a nurse right now, well, I wouldn't be going to work. Are you kidding me? I'll have my nurse's job. I'll find a job after all this shit's over. I'm not bringing this shit home. I mean, I'm a mailman. I'm not going to work. Fuck that. What? For what? What am I for what?
Yeah, like Debbie, she's working at the Rehab Institute of Chicago, and she is not happy about it. I mean, and her job for a lot of it could be done from home. They won't let her do it from home.
Really? Oh shit.
So I mean, she's not at a hospital where, you got
the COVID people.
They've got a couple of cases in the entire hospital, but they don't have they're not allowing visitors, all that kind of stuff. But they're not a hospital that's got 100 cases in there. Anything.
But nurses don't make a ton of money, and they were already, my brother-in-law's brother, he's a nurse up in Minnesota, and it's like they've been redlining the staff and making it short-staffed for a decade, right? Like, it's nothing new. It's like, oh, well, you don't want to work overtime. Well, do you want to have a job? Because you're working overtime.
12-hour days in the nursing industry.
That's what they say, at the post office too. Like if we don't have half the fucking people don't show up, you know what, Jerry, you're gonna carry a route and a half today. Like, otherwise you say no, and like, well, we're gonna discipline you, right? Like,
but not discipline the person that didn't show up.
no, because all those people have FMLA, and so do I now. So go fuck yourself.
What are you guys' thoughts on? So we're talking about socialism. What are your thoughts on UBI?
I think I think with this pandemic, you have to do it at this point. You have to do it. Like, it was a nice idea from the beginning, but I think you just do it. Fuck it. Who cares?
Well, my thoughts on it are, our welfare system is fucked, right?
Broken.
We keep.
Well, besides that, it's a trap.
It's a trap. That was going to be my point. Is that rich people have figured out a way to make millions of dollars off of poor people, so they keep people on the welfare system. So if you go to a universal basic income, and it allows people to progress, like, that's what welfare should be: support people until they can get to the level to be on their own.
What they say is that welfare is a ceiling that you can't get out of, because once you get out of it, then you lose money, and UBI is a floor. So you can't fall below that. So, like, you know, if you're the lady who's a manager at Burger, or you're a fried guy at Burger King, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna make you a manager, but you're under the poverty level, so you've got welfare coming in.
Like, or earned income credit.
Well, you're making $20,000 a year.
Yeah, right.
Because we want to have you make $26,000 a year. Now, anybody would think $6,000 a year. That's a 25% raise. That sounds awesome. That guy can't take that raise because he's going to lose $12,000 in benefits. If he was
in healthcare and food stamps and all that shit.
Bottom, and then he could get whatever he wanted. He could also be enterprising and say, you know what? I know that it's a lot of work, but instead of working 30 hours a week, making $20,000 a year, I'm going to get 2 of these fucking jobs. Then I'm going to work 60 hours a week, and I've still got my $12,000 on the bottom, and it doesn't affect it.
Right.
Create people that want to work harder and get ahead, where people they got a ceiling right now. They can't get out of it.
Yeah, you have to give them a chance to prosper, which our current welfare system doesn't allow to do that. And the biggest complainers are the Republicans, where you look at people that are profiting off of these poor people.
Oh no!
But like when they complain about immigrants, like the immigrants wouldn't be coming here if there wasn't a demand for them to fucking come here. You know?
Right. No,
why are we going after the people that are hiring them instead of going after the immigrants themselves?
Yeah, you have a meat packing plant where you've got like 90% of the workers who are undocumented,
right?
But like Smithfield or whatever, and like, but you're not finding Smithfield.
No,
like that's
the thing. Workers for coming over here looking for a better fucking life.
And if the economy is like the way I think, where we don't fucking make anything, we have to buy stuff to maintain the economy, then give people money every month and they will buy stuff and they will pay their bills.
Yeah, you like, corporate socialist motherfuckers.
Right? Like, you're going to buy more. Like, if I have $2,000 coming in a month and that's my minimum, like, I'm in a good position. Like, I live in fucking Gary, Indiana for dirt cheap. Like, I don't even need a job. And that's fine. You know what I'll do? I'll fucking make podcasts and do, like, whatever. I'll retire. I don't care. But, and then maybe my job for someone that's younger and someone that wants to get into the workforce or whatever, then that's available. So, like, I don't know what the right.
They've run that study, though, in a couple spots, like one spot in Alaska, one, like, swath in California.
I think Stockton, California was doing it,
Yeah, but it still turns out that they're like running 10% unemployment. Like, only 10% of the people don't, like, work. You know what I mean? Like, so it's no different than anywhere else. If you had that money at the bottom, it would just free you up to do other things. If you were someone at the economic bottom, it frees you up, like you said, to prosper, to try and get ahead, to try and do more and stuff like that.
Right.
Also, you know, it could make it that if you had a bad month or something like that, you weren't in dire straits. It could reduce crime.
Well, it could, or like for people like you, Bill. Like, I mean, I know you're more established, like, real estate person or whatever, but like, if you knew you had that money coming in, like, there's not as much pressure to just go out and sell houses and shit or whatever. It's just
try like, something different.
Yeah, your mental health is better if you're just not under the just screws of everything every day. Like, you have to go to work. Like, you have to do this and don't you want money? I don't care about, I haven't cared about money for a while.
Right.
Like, all I want to do is like be on a fucking Zoom chat with you guys for 3 hours and laugh and like talk to people or whatever. Like, that's all, or make people laugh.
Yeah.
And I can't do that if I'm just like having to go to this job every day. And some people may not be able to do that. Like, some people's mortgages are a lot of money. I understand that.
Right, then,
And let those people go to work, because I don't have to. Like, if I had $2,000 a month coming in, I don't have to work. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
I know what our books are. You know?
Yeah, I don't think I would ever want to not have something to do, but I could definitely find things to do that I enjoy versus
Right.
The other shit.
Yeah, I mean, but like, we're talking about an argument where the right and left in this country need to come together, right? So you get them to come together by saying, hey, you give everybody $1,000 a month. Let's figure this. Let's compare this to what we pay to keep people on welfare for now. And I guarantee you it's going to be far less.
Well, and yeah, the big component too is healthcare. Like, you have to have a national healthcare system. You have to do it. I mean, with this pandemic more than ever, like, you see that, like, people are sick and they're not going to the doctor, like, and then they're dead, right? Like, at this point.
Baseline of facts, though, because Republicans, like, they've got all these misconceptions, and if you watch their news, they just keep running with it. The fact is 80% of the people on welfare have jobs.
Right.
Everybody thinks that, all the Republicans think that if you're on welfare, you have no job.
Like, you're sitting at home doing nothing. Right.
Right. Somehow, like, you're living the life of luxury off of your
welfare check.
Right. Which is nonsense. You're not. But, like, so you need like a baseline of facts. Then you need to start to explain to them that, like, listen, there is huge entrepreneur value to decoupling your healthcare from your job.
Yes.
Go open up your own mom and pop if you got to lose your healthcare the minute that you leave working for Mariano's or whatever like that.
Right.
So, like, you're stifling innovation. You're stifling all kinds of hardworking people from doing their own gigs.
You're stifling true capitalism that way. You're stifling.
Right. Well, you're only the only true capitalism that's happening is for big business right now, because I don't give a
fuck. Well, I don't think it's true capitalism at this point.
I don't give a fuck what Republicans say. They don't give two shits about small business in the truest sense.
No,
they don't give a shit.
They're competition. The small business is competition to big business, obviously.
Yeah. And then big business have bought and paid for, and it doesn't matter if Republican or Democrat, they're all fucking bought and paid for. Well, it should be a requirement when you're in Congress or you're a lawmaker that you live on your salary alone. You are a civil servant. You do not get to do shit. 100%. You do not get to write books. You do not get to do shit. You're a legislator. You get $200,000 a year for life. That is your job.
Right.
Fuck everything else. Right. Like, you can't be a lobbyist. You can't be an insider. You can't write books after you're done. Fuck that.
But to get back to this with this welfare and all, there's a part of the Democratic Party that claims to be doing things for people on welfare, but all they're doing is keeping people on welfare.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not just one side's wrong about it, one side's right about it. Both sides are playing it to keep people on it.
The narrative
it benefits Democrats with votes.
Yes,
That's the narrative that the Democrat is playing. They're playing like, look, if you don't vote for a Democrat, you're going to lose the one thing that you got, and that's your welfare.
Right. So, exactly. And so the Democratic Party is keeping people within that trap.
Right.
Absolutely, because their donors are the same people like the Waltons and all those other people. The Waltons, if you work at Walmart, there's a person in office that you're like, hey, you know, I need a raise or something's got to happen. I got kids and I can't afford fucking healthcare. And I come on in the office, we'll talk about it. And they hand them a fucking pamphlet that says how to apply for welfare.
Medicaid.
Like this is our freaking corporate healthcare plan for you. Go get this. So
Yeah.
like, we're constantly, the middle class is assuming the position of getting fucked by big corporations because we're going to pay for their healthcare plan for their employees, and then we're going to pay for the education for their employees, and then when it comes tax time, they're going to pay zero
or the minimum,
or they're going to get a tax credit.
Right.
They'll just get a fucking millions of dollars just deposited in your account because
they claim all that on R&D though. They say that it's all
because corporations are people now, and they're the most important people. They're not just people; they're way more important than Bill Gagner, Jerry Ponson, and Tom McCoy.
Oh, we're gonna find out.
They have to be kept alive even when they're on life support, because if you're a true capitalist, what you should believe is that when a company is done, when a bank is done, when they can't pay their bills, they should be done. Correct?
Yes.
They should be over.
Yes.
You cannot compete. You've made bad decisions. You're going down.
If you're a mover and shaker and a deal maker,
I made bad decisions, right? Like, my company went down. That's how it went. That's how it happened.
Yeah, that's true capitalism.
You know what? If all the banks would have went down in 2008, there'd still be banks. Quite sure.
Fuck yeah, there would.
So I'm in this business.
There'd be different banks.
Right. I'm in this business where we were selling homes, and the banks owned a large portion of the homes at one point, right? We funded, the government gave trillions of dollars to those banks. Those banks were not in a position then where they had to cut those assets loose. So they would be like, I mean, I was in negotiations with the bank people for, like, I had a trade guy who's like, well, Bill, I got 90 grand. What do you think? Can we get that place? The bank's like, fuck off. We're not going to let it go. If the government didn't bail out the banks, the bank
would hold it and sell it.
Yes. And now that trade guy who was having a hard time as it was because there's no new homes being built could have grabbed that house at a great price, put some work into it, and flipped. This is a hardworking American who couldn't make any money in that time because the banks were, we got money.
Yeah. Don't need he could have bought it, paid the fucking taxes on it.
Right.
And,
and then maybe someone wouldn't be homeless too.
Right. So, I mean, banks were propped up, and then it didn't work out for the middleman again, which is
and they just did it again. They printed $2.5 trillion fucking dollars, and they gave it to every fucking big business. And I just thought, there's no lesson to be learned then. Like, why?
Yeah, right. They're never going to learn a lesson, but the people that need to learn a lesson.
They'll learn it when people like us start to say, enough is enough. We're not going to facilitate this anymore.
Why aren't the other people that are in the same economic situation we're in looking at this and learning anything from that? Why aren't they looking at it and say, damn, every time there's a fucking crisis, I'm a 50-year-old man. I've lived through 3 crises now.
Yeah.
And every single fucking time, look who gets bailed out. Not me.
No.
Companies do. Every single time, we all lose our jobs and we all lose work and everything else.
Yeah.
And then the corporations get bailed out every single time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so in spite of laying off like 30% of the country in like a week, those companies still got a shit ton of money and relief. All those retailers that I got a Dick's Sporting Goods or whatever, they all got a fucking ton of money. And you know what? I'm sure their commercial landlords are going to be like, well, we don't have a personal guarantee on that lease because it's Dick's Sporting Goods. Why would we have that? Right. So there's no responsibility there. They just get out. Right. They took their money from the government. And Dick's Sporting Goods will go on, and they'll just send shit to you via the internet or whatever.
Right.
All their CEOs and whatever will be fine.
To pay salaries then they don't pay that money back. It becomes a grant. It becomes a grant as soon as they use it to pay salaries. That includes guys making $3 million a year.
Right.
Right. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So we didn't talk about Charlie Hustle.
We didn't.
And I always thought it was complete bullshit until recently when I heard some stories that he was actually betting on games that he was.
Pete fucking Rose, is that who we're talking about?
Yeah, Charlie Hustle. Now, I have no problem.
His name is Pete, and not Charlie.
But he hustled, so his name's Charlie. So
why couldn't he be Pete Hustle?
Pete Hustle.
Sounds good. Why couldn't he be Pete Hustle? That's a good question.
Sounds like a porn name to me.
That goes back to our earlier conversation.
Hustle's not good.
But wasn't he? Not that it's right, and this is my conundrum. But if he was betting on his team to win,
that's fine, right?
Right, but wasn't he he wasn't betting on them to take a dive ever, was he?
I don't know. I find for me it's a different game if you're betting on games that you have an outcome in. I mean, what if you were betting you to win? I don't know. I don't like
by one run instead of 2 runs.
Say about Pete Rose is that no one fucking liked him, and that's why he's in the position he's in.
Same with Barry Bonds.
If he was like a likable guy, there's no fucking if he didn't run over that poor catcher in the fucking All-Star game
Ray
or whatever.
Ray Fosse.
Like if he wasn't a complete asshole, no one would have ever turned him in.
But
because I'm sure there's been other baseball players that may have had gambling problems that no one has known about.
But at the same time, Pete Rose was the non-steroid guy, right? The guy that hit singles, the guy that worked hard. So he had to be a major league asshole as well as a major league baseball player in order to get where he was at.
Pete fucking Rose was playing.
What's that?
People weren't doing steroids.
No, but that goes back to the argument whether you want to see the freaking nature of the guy that works hard. Pete Rose was the guy that worked hard. He just happened to be an asshole about it.
And he had a terrible haircut, too.
Yeah, terrible. It was like bangs and a bowl cut. Yeah. Yeah. But, if he was betting on his team to win, there was no proof of him taking a dive. There was just proof of him betting on his team. You know?
Yes, but at first he denied all that. At first
he did, and that goes back to the steroid thing too, right?
Right.
Yeah.
At first it was that it was only the other games and stuff like that. And for me, I don't give a shit about that. If the guy wants to gamble, let him fucking gamble.
Mm-hmm. Do you think he's repented enough to be accepted?
He's repented?
Those things, it's it doesn't, I don't know if it matters that much to me anyway. So, I mean, it's who was the one-legged Santo or whatever from the Cubs that every year is crying.
I mean,
the White Sox got Harold Baines and the Cubs got Ron Santo. 2 guys that should not be in the fucking Hall of Fame. No.
Ron Santo wasn't even a good announcer at all.
He was almost the Hawk before Hawk. You know?
Like the Hawk, if Hawk
quit 10 years ago?
If Hawk had a stroke, that was Ron Santo. Fans, but it is true if you ever look at any of the games. He was just off in his own universe the whole time. Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't really care that much, but it does seem like, especially if you did let the McGuires and stuff like that into the Hall of Fame, it seems like an injustice that you don't let this guy who there's no evidence that he cheated the game itself.
No, just made the wrong enemies, and I don't know.
But he wasn't a total asshole about it when it came out.
Yes.
Yeah. And
he's just a total asshole, like from the base.
There's no other way for him to react about it other than to be an asshole about it.
Yeah, he's been the same consistent person from the time he first started playing baseball to now.
Right.
Which is surprising that he's still alive. Right? How old is Pete Rose? Or Charlie, whatever we're calling him.
Oh, he's got to be in his 70s, I would think. Right?
Hey, hold on 1 second here. My freaking grocery guy's here. I gotta.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll wrap it up. What you call it? Another time, guys. All right.
Yeah.
Died. Good
What's
time.
That? Oh, your headphones died? Okay.
Yeah.
Then we got to go.
See you, boys.
Jerry's headphones. All right, guys.